ain't with it. I just wanted you, so I would try to ride with it. Yeah, when you hit my phone, girl, I try to vibe with it. But we better off alone, cause I can tell that you ain't with it now. Look, now I rock a 4-5.
Welcome to another Three Aficionados. We're finally very much delayed and back, the whole team here, and we have a very special guest today. So today we're going to be popping it all off, talking about all things analog, cars, watches, other inappropriate shit, and just a reason to drink non-alcoholic beer together. And we'll be talking with another aficionado, Chris Lee, today. All right, with that, let's pop it all off if we have a drink. Oh, Chris is so prepared. He's much more prepared than us.
Hey, I'm a listener, so I just wanted to participate along.
You are the listener.
We're super excited that you're here. Slancha, cheers.
Yeah, thanks for joining. Cheers, guys.
Yeah, cheers,
Welcome,
guys.
and good to finally get the whole crew back together. Always nice to see the familiar faces. So, Chris, tell us about yourself and what you're drinking today, and maybe, a quick blurb.
Yeah, so I guess Steve and I went to school together, but we reconnected because we both comment on each other's watches, I guess. And so that's where it all began, this new stream of stuff. And then once he started this podcast, and I was like, oh, I like listening about watches. And so it was another thing into my rotation. Today, I didn't know it was supposed to be non-alcoholic beer. So I just grabbed Big Rock Trad, and so that was just easy because that was in the fridge. So that's what I have. And yeah, I guess. And I like watches, and it's always nice to run into people who like watches too. So yet another chat group where we can share things that we see and have fun with.
Well, cheers and welcome to the show here.
Cheers.
Thanks, guys.
Welcome. Thanks for coming out.
Mm-hmm.
Daniel, what alcoholic beer are you drinking, or non-alcoholic beer?
Yeah, no, this is the good stuff here. I'm on Land Shark Lager, and I've had it a couple times now. Yeah, it's pretty good. I would recommend it if you just like a nice beer. That's what, if you're my grandfather's age or our grandparents' age, you'd be like, oh, it's a nice beer.
That's a nice beer.
Okay, give me a beer.
That's a good beer.
That's what they're talking about. And I've got my are we doing the pop? Wait, what's happening next, Steve? I'm out of practice.
Next, we're
I'm
talking
sorry, everybody.
Peter. God damn it.
We're
Peter,
still on beer.
Peter, what's your drink choice?
I'm rocking the Raspberries Brother, the Velvet Fog, because I had no more raspberries. So it's another beer by Wild Rose. But yeah, it's pretty good. So
Velvet
cheers to
Fog
that.
is
that's
the
an
other.
upgrade.
Velvet Fog is the other name for Peter's duster or mustache.
The Velvet Fog.
I'm actually drinking the Partake Pale Ale, India Pale Ale, non-alcoholic beer. And from what I hear, they actually just sift the alcohol out of it. So it does have 0.3%. I did have a day drinking beer out in the beer gardens after a ride today. So I feel a little dehydrated. So we'll see if this keeps me a little less dehydrated. I doubt that really has any impact, but whatever.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty soft, but that's all right, I guess.
Sorry for being so soft. So we've got a lot of things to catch up on today. Obviously, we're going to talk about what we're sporting on the wrist, but lots of car and watch news and lots of updates of what's coming into the collection, what's our prized points. So maybe Chris, honorary guest, what are you sporting on the wrist there?
Well, it's at the time of recording, we are just entering into September, so exiting out of summer. So I thought that it'd be fitting for this is to wear my will this focus? I guess I'm not sure if it will.
Hold it
but
next
this is
to your face.
Yeah, maybe I'll just do it like this.
There you go.
Anyways, so this
Beautiful.
is my Turtle, Seiko Turtle. So my wife got this for me a couple of years ago, actually because I actually was rocking my Seiko SKX forever, and I was at crossroads with it because it was, not a great movement, but it was reliable enough, but also not as precise as I wanted. So I was like, well, should I fix it up, tune it up, and kind of calculate the cost? And she's like, why don't I just buy you a new watch? And so so this is where she moved me forward. And it actually happened at a time where I met a friend she had a work colleague who noticed her watch, which is a watch that I helped pick out for her. And he's like, who picked this out? And then we became friends. So he's like, you need a new watch. This is why I've been wearing this. And so, I mean, as other things have been added to the collection, this is what I like to wear when I'm traveling. So I just had a chance to be on vacation for a couple of weeks, and so this is the one that I wanted to rock. So this is why I'm wearing this watch today to, yeah, just to kind of commemorate this part of the season, I guess.
It's a beauty. And you just had it like at the beach or at least at warm weather climate, right, in California.
Totally. Yeah.
That's a great watch. I think that
Mhm.
that's something that none of us have, but I think that we could all see ourselves having, unless Daniel decides to shit on that. He occasionally shits on people's watches. Guys.
No, I think that I think it's a beautiful watch. I don't think that the turtle style shell looks great on my wrist, but
Well,
like
I
that's just,
appreciate it. Yeah, it's a good
that's just
all-rounder,
it.
and I think it's a good summer one. And I actually sometimes switch it between the NATO and bracelet, but I thought I would just like embrace it, like just going on bracelet for this. Although it has been hot. I don't know how about you guys in your cities, but man, it's been warm. And I guess we went to warm climates, so but it was nice to have that on.
Daniel, what's on your lovely hairy wrist that suits it more better? More ideally,
Uh,
not more better. More.
well, I've had this watch for a long time and it's been on the show many times, but I haven't worn it in months because I just got back from my own vacation as well, being out west for the summer. And so I decided to strap on the old BMW chronograph that I got there from my time working back at BMW in my mid-20s. And yeah, I mean, it's not an expensive watch and it doesn't fall into the typical watch um, enthusiast umbrella in a lot of ways, but it does kind of follow more in line with the automotive enthusiast, which I think, you know, I'm such a huge automotive enthusiast that if you throw a Mercedes or BMW logo on something, then I'm probably still not going to buy it, but I might like it a lot more.
It falls under the enthusiast umbrella here for us. All watches are welcome except for Invicta. Peter, are you wearing an
And
Invicta
then,
now?
and Orient.
No, I'm actually funny enough, I'm kind of almost wearing the watch that the younger brother to Chris's watch.
Oh,
It's the
look at that.
SKX, I think the 009.
Right.
Yeah, the Pepsi. Wish it was a little bit brighter down here. I'd show you a bit better. But yeah, I think I've worn it enough times on the podcast that if you really want to see it, they'd probably go back. But yeah, it's basically just a Pepsi dial. I've had this thing for a while now. I feel like it's actually one of the original watches that kind of, like, I would say more so got me in the like watch keeping kind of thing. Like there was a few that like in the beginning that really, like I had like some watches like back in the day. Like I always liked watches, but there was a few that kind of like got me into more like automatic watches kind of thing. And like this plus like the Tudor was like a gift, and then this like I bought myself and a couple others like that afterwards. I got myself and like that were actually automatic, and it was just kind of cool to have like a different style watch compared to just the quartz. And I still appreciate quartz movements. I have quite a few quartz as well, but it's just kind of nice to have like the step up after a while. You know what I mean? You work towards something, and it's kind of like, oh yeah, this is what you got. So.
I think you're all sporting the watches that brought us all together. That's the nice thing.
That's what I was gonna say too.
So I met you with that SKX 009, or we met before when you were wearing no watch. Maybe. I don't know. What were you wearing really on the first time that we visited?
It was either this or my grandpa's watch. I can't honestly remember.
Okay. But the first time I
maybe the
noticed that you
very
were a
first
watch
time
guy.
I may have not had a watch. Yeah, probably
I feel
not.
like you were just naked.
Yeah, basically. Yeah.
A time at Burning Man when we were just running around. No.
Yeah, running around just naked.
And then Daniel and I met when I was trying to swindle the dealer. And I was like, this guy has a cool watch. This guy appreciates the fact that I'm dropping a few references of cars and watches in front of him. But I am sadly not wearing the nostalgic watch that I once wore when I was with you. I feel like with both of you, I was wearing some of the classics, but I am not wearing the classic. But it's probably a new thing. So I think it's actually something that we're going to have to break the mold and talk a little bit about recent news. If I can figure out still how to share my screen without opening up the dark web here. So here's the desktop, and then I'm just gonna not well
Ooh.
transition here. This is for some reason YouTube and shit. I can't even get out of this now, and I fucked this up.
There you go.
Well, this is clearly I'm like out of practice, but I
Uh,
can't even get the goddamn Zoom thing to clear out so I can show the screen here. This is the G-Shock Full Metal GMT 2100 Casio, and it is on the screen, as you can see, after I just like randomly showed some weird shit on YouTube on the dark web. But you will also see that it is on my wrist, and I'm
Woo!
rocking the Casio after this was a perfect bike riding watch. I'm blown away with how robust the bracelet is to this. So for those who don't know, it's the Casio, which a few of us have here. And thank you for your silent claps, Chris. So we got that. That won't show up on the podcast, but if you're watching by YouTube, you will see the emojis there. But we've got the Casio that first started kind of in the resin case that was in kind of like a plastic rubber form, and then they introduced like a partial metal where you still ended up with a plastic strap, and everybody was waiting for the full metal to come around. And there have been a lot of Casio mods that people do where they actually kind of make it look like an AP. And to me, I think Casio really pulled it off. And so I went with the 1A, so the regular steel, which I think that this looks like T1000. This looks like the Terminator kind of liquid metal. It has that nice shine. And I've worn it golfing, I've worn it biking, and it just doesn't, it barely rattles. It feels really tough. And like the bracelet is like way punching above beyond what I would expect for the price range. I think it's on the spectrum from, maybe not to shit talk Seiko, but I've got the SKX as well. This SKX bracelet, the Jubilee, to like a Rolex bracelet. This is like
Sucks.
quite a bit farther on the spectrum towards Rolex, because it just like I barely hear it roll around, and it holds on my wrist really nicely, feels super solid, and I know that I can just fall off my bike or like take a golf club to it and it'll be completely fine. So it's a pretty cool watch to wear when in all conditions, and I feel like I could really blow my wrist off, and this would be the only thing that would be sticking around. I'm
I feel
ideally.
like we're gonna have to enact all of those situations in some coming video.
And
This
see
is
if the
another
Bluetooth,
phrase that I think we need to keep in our back pocket. Blowing our wrist off is another reference to watches and not other sexual undertones. Did I make it wrong?
Yo, that just blew my wrist off.
You just blew my wrist off, son. Wait,
Hey, who was it? Was it you that just blew my wrist off?
so what do you guys think? Bad buy or good buy? I don't think anyone else was convinced to get this other than me and the group.
I like it.
I like it.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
the
solid.
one flaw I would say is it's got a regular clasp. It just
Okay.
kind of dangles, but
I'll give it one blown off wrist.
I give it 2 blown off wrists. I give it a double whistle. So yeah, you see that the resin case back is a bit different looking from what you see with the regular Casios, but otherwise looks pretty similar to the usual jam. And I'd say that the bracelet feels really robust, feels like very solid. It's really easy to adjust and pop these pins. So if you want to blow your wrist and pop your pins, I'm your man.
Pop it off and blow your wrist.
Pop it off, blow your wrist, and chains on the dash.
Well, and I think the thing that's nice is that you're using it, and so you have it on wrist and it's going around, so it's not. And I think it's priced, where it is, but it's also something that that you can put on and just go do stuff. So that's great.
Yeah.
Mm.
I mean, it was interesting to think, I mean, from my perspective, I'm pretty fortunate that I've got a pretty varied collection, but price didn't really enter it like I sometimes think about pricing in comparison to other watches. To me, I just wanted a Casio that felt a little bit more robust and was, a little bit more dressed up and really cool to wear, that I just didn't have to worry about, that I could wear with sports. And I think that this is pretty much it. And the one thing I'd probably say is that this thing is so solid and sturdy that like if you get a really good drive, when I hit that dinger, it was just like I could feel it like resonate right through my wrist. So it's not like quite like I was driving with a Richard Mille on my wrist. I could definitely feel it move, but it didn't like rattle or throw things off. Although I probably kind of like sharded my bro. I sharded just a little bit of my bone.
You would have to spend
Also my asshole.
so much, you would have to spend so much money to close the gap between this and an RM that it's just such a ridiculous proposition to even begin with, to
You don't.
compare them, one, and two, to even consider RM.
Yeah, how many nanoparticles are in that Casio, please?
Yeah, really.
Well, after all the shards in my wrist, I might need some nanoparticles.
There you go.
I really think like if you said cost no option, you didn't see a movement side of things, and then you just showed pictures of the two watches side by side, like the Coke, like the Pepsi Coke challenge back in the day. You know, like people have already said that RMs look like little toys that have come out of mall, you know, machines that you put $1 in and get a little toy ball out of. So, you know, to me, I think that there would be a lot of people who would just look at a Casio and be like, oh yeah, I like that one better. You know, like that's like the big joke about RM in a way. Anyways, that's a tangent.
Thank you, Daniel, for delivering the tangent of the day. So I just realized, well, I screwed up because I've been talking and I don't think that my screen's even really showing my wrist, but whatever. You get the idea. You saw the full.
You saw the press release, the press photos.
Yeah, just look at the goddamn
Mhm.
photos. You don't want to see it on my gross wrist. Mangled, sharded wrist.
Half hairy.
Half airy. That's right. It only starts down lower. So yeah, I think we should get into the rest of the news now that I can finally clear out the dark web here. So we've got we're overdue for talking about this, the Tudor Pelagos 39, and so this is a kind of a follow up to the Pelagos that I would say is very under the radar and probably the modern Tudor version of the Submariner, but has been a larger diameter dive, very utilitarian, modern watch, and has been in titanium. But it is a bigger watch. It's quite thick, and I think that what was really great about it to me was the clasp, because it could have that like sliding ruler, special kind of mechanism that was in place. So it was kind of cool to see them dial it down, kind of give it the same Black Bay 58 treatment and drop it down to 39 millimeters. It's still sporting the titanium bracelet, same movement, but everything seems quite cohesive and seems like a great kind of daily driver here. It's kind of interesting that they're kind of trying to focus more on, I think, the unisex vibe of it, that it could be male and female who could wear this. But I don't think that you need to go down to 39 for a female to wear it. I think my wife could have worn the original Pelagos, but this is way more appealing to me, especially on the bracelet, more so than the rubber strap. But I feel like I could definitely see Peter wearing it on a NATO. What do you guys think? It isn't like the most cheapest watch, but it's for $5,000. I think it's a pretty cool watch that has a modern touch, that for those people who are a little bit interested in Rolex but haven't yet fully gotten their foot in the door, I think it's kind of a cool gateway watch, if you might. Peter, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's
Right
cool.
on strap?
I think it's quite interesting. Like for the, like you said, like I think price point, like you're comparing it to a Submariner, I feel like you're pretty reasonable. Like, yeah, it is maybe a little bit up there, but I don't really know what the retail is on a Submariner anymore, but it's probably about half of that, I would guess, isn't it? Give or take.
I think it's somewhere around 9 or so.
Okay, so maybe a bit more, but still, like for what it is, like I know Tudor makes good watches, and I do like the one Pelagos we talked about a while ago, that was like the all blue one that was for like the, I forget which, if it was the French Navy or something, but yeah,
The Marine
the one we were,
National.
yeah, that one was really, really cool. But yeah, this one is interesting too, and it would be quite cool to kind of check it out in person. I bet you it looks really good on the wrist. Like I think 39 mil is probably a good size, but like you said, if it's kind of chunky, it'd be kind of interesting to see as well.
It's a little bit jarring seeing it in this image with a dress, but you know, you can see that they have a certain ethnicity that I think Tudor is particularly trying to cater to. But yeah, anyways, I think that it's a good diameter. It's kind of interesting and competitive, the fact that, you know, like the sub is now 41 or 40.5 millimeters. So this is even a little bit smaller. I think it's kind of interesting too, in that I believe the bezel, though it's ceramic, you get an early entry into ceramic.
That's
That's
cool.
one factor. And then the other factor is that you get lume on the bezel itself, I believe. So the whole thing lights up, I believe, in the night, if I'm correct. Chris,
That's really
you know
cool.
the details better than I. Feel like you're
On
with all
the
those
bezel,
numbers
I
behind you.
don't recall, so I don't know one way or the other.
Very accurate. Peter, Daniel. Peter's gone. Bye, Peter. Daniel. Look, there's lume right there. See that photo? It's right. Uh, it doesn't show it.
On the dial.
I'm gonna make the conclusion that there's lume on the bezel.
Yeah, and I mean, like, I think, I mean, I watched a few videos about this as well, just as people's kind of reactions to it, and you know, it's nice. Well, I guess Rolex is like, well, if there's space for people in this price point, we can give them something that is palatable, right? And so it's interesting. I think, I guess for me, and I might just be echoing what I some of the things that I was watching, but like I think the Pelagos was intentionally different from the Black Bay. You know, it was kind of bigger and that kind of like the professional sort of style, the chunkier and the thicker look. So I think this is just trying to give something that people want in a different package. And yeah, so it'll be interesting. It might just take away market share from people who are in that 5,000 ish sort of space that now like, oh, okay, if you want something Rolex esque, then they can certainly do that here.
What's interesting also, you get this little splash of red font color, just like the
Yeah.
red subs, and
Mhm.
like the Sea Dweller anniversary. So you get that little bit of I don't know, a little. It's a little less plain. Also, you get a little bit of a sunburst dial that matches the bezel. So I think it's pretty cool. What do you guys think? Would you take a 58, or would you take like a Black Bay 58, or would you take a Pelagos 39?
I
Feel
think
like
I go with Pelagos.
would you really?
Well, my thing with it though is I have a Black Bay already, right?
Hmm.
So it's like I don't know. Maybe I just don't. I'm not one who really needs two with the same watch.
Yeah. I feel like Daniel's a 58.
Oh, he's just on mute and just enjoying his
You're
life.
muted,
Just
Daniel.
like,
He's just Zen. He's just not
yeah,
even going to
I
answer.
don't even know if he can hear us because he's still just enjoying himself.
He took one too many bong hits right now. We're a
Nah, I
little
think I
rusty. It's
just
been a
come
little
back.
while.
I've just come back from that bong hit. That was my mistake. I put salvia in there by accident. I disappeared for a minute, but I'm back. Felt like an eternity though. Um, I think that Steve read me right. I um, I think I prefer the Black Bay. Um, I do like this though. For some reason, the longer I look at it, the more I think it looks like an SKX with the crown put in the wrong position.
This,
But
I think it's the 12
I don't
o'clock
think that's
marker.
shared along by a lot of other people.
Yeah, it does
Just the
look like.
salvia.
Chris, how many drugs have you taken tonight, and what do you think? Are you
You know,
are you going for this or 58?
my only substance has been this here so far
Hmm.
tonight. I think I would probably also take I'd probably go Black Bay, mostly because I think while this is I think that this Pelagos 39 is a nice offering, though I think it is just offering something that everyone wants that's accessible. And so it kind of looks like everything that it is. You know, I kind of like that the Pelagos was a little bit unabashed and kind of big and thick in that certain way. So if I were to go Pelagos, I'd do the big one. I don't know if I would get it, but I think but it's also kind of like, you know, would you get, you know, a Sea Dweller or anything else like that? Like how much diving am I really doing nowadays? But I think I think if I were to go to Pelagos, I'd do that. I think Pelagos 39 is something for, to me, my read is that it's to make it so some people can get something that they otherwise couldn't get, which is a sub.
I
Maybe
would
that's cynical.
want still the Marine National FXD the most of all of the
Mhm.
Pelagos. That one still is really high on my list. In fact, it's probably the most desirable of all of the Tudors out there currently for me. But as you said, it's kind of interesting. One aspect is that the regular Pelagos has this really innovative clasp I was mentioning here that has this ability to slide over your wetsuit. So it's really actually kind of interesting that Rolex or Tudor haven't moved it across the board and introduced it across the line. And I'm a little bit sad that it wasn't on the 39. That being said, I did call up the dealer and said put my name on the list. Would I see myself holding it in my collection for a long period of time? No. I just think that it'd be kind of cool to have it in the short term. And the other aspect, though, that I think that they got right is the fact that they got rid of the date. So, and there's some other things like they've got this stepping here on the full Pelagos. To me, still, I think the one that speaks to me the most is the FXD Marine National. I think that's just so cool. I love the history behind it. I love the full gradient bidirectional rotating bezel is in there, and it's got like the stamped back. And I don't have any other watches that are on a NATO, so I could totally see this one being like the one that might push me over the limit. That I actually say, you know what, I got to put my money where my mouth is, and I got to actually go diving. I got to take up the sport. Chris, did you actually do some diving, don't you?
Nope.
No,
I just kind of goof around in the water. So
you just
no.
wade.
My friend that is the one that actually convinced me to get this Seiko Turtle is the one who does dive. So
Oh,
he
well,
has
we should be
something.
having your friend, not you. I'm sorry. Well, this was the
Yeah, sorry.
one.
Somehow that was my like.
Apologies.
Yeah, let me go get him.
We're just kidding.
But yeah,
We're
no,
gonna
I'm not
lose our
saying
one
it.
audience member tonight. No insults. Just kidding around.
All right, I'm going to retract the comment I was just about to leave on the channel.
I'd like to see
Um,
the emoji for that. Just like the middle finger. Yeah, cool.
but
Well,
I agree with you. I think the FXD is really cool, and with the fixed spring bars, like I like that it's made as a tool watch, and like it definitely leans into that. And I think the thing that's also interesting about this watch is how they have that they changed the bezel with the countdown. And I remember trying to understand what it is that they do as to like, oh, they actually do use this as the tool in a certain way. But I was like, okay, sounds cool. I like that it's a little different.
yeah.
And I think it's the strap is, I believe it's Velcro, but not called Velcro, because I think Velcro is a trade name. I remember it was, what did they call it? Fabric strap with self-gripping fastening system.
It's itchy pubes. Itchy pubes. It just rips and there's a little bit of crabs in there. But let's get into. I don't want to dwell on too much of the news because obviously we've got other things to talk about in our actual reality. Any new updates on your wrists collections? Any things that are coming? Any things that have immediately arrived with the boys here? Do you see anything on the horizon right now? Or do you see anything that has just recently come in? I'm going to put everyone on
Nope.
the spot. But Peter, I feel
What,
like
in this economy?
Peter, I got to put the pressure on you because we collected the Casio, and I feel like you already made your decision, but I want to follow up with that. Did you decide not to go the Casio route?
Yeah, for me, like
He's
the one
saving it
thing,
for the RM.
yeah, I'm saving for the RM. No, I don't. The one thing for me, I kind of just found is like I really enjoyed it. Like when I like had it on my wrist, like I was able to like see it. It was super cool, but it wasn't like afterwards when I left that weekend. It wasn't like I was like, oh, like I need this watch. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't like directly jumping out and being like, oh, I like want this super bad. So for me, it just wasn't like as cool as it is. It just wasn't something that I felt the immediate need to add to my collection kind of thing. But I am planning on adding something soon. I don't 100% know what it is, but I'm looking at a few things. So we'll keep we'll keep it updated. But there's definitely a couple things I've been looking around at. So I think like a cool tool style watch would be really neat, kind of just for something else, kind of mix up with it works. So I've been looking for something else. That
You gotta give us a bit more of the teaser, man. Of course, it's something else, but
It's something.
it's a tool watch. But I mean,
I've been
come
looking
on.
at like a couple things. You know, the field medic that you have is something I've kind of been considering. I think that's really,
Yes.
really cool. There was something that me and Steve, like the guy was talking about. It was, I think, a Sins watch as well, but the price point it was quite expensive. I think it's like $5,000. So I was
That's
just
the
like,
thing.
yeah, I think that's a little bit much for work.
It's too much
Yeah,
for that.
yeah. The field medic I think is really jumping out at me because it's like $300 and some, and you can maybe it's $400. I don't know.
You get a discount.
Exactly, and I can
Yeah.
get a discount. So I was thinking that may be it because I think a chrono would be kind of cool. I'm looking to see if there's anything similar that I kind of like, but that's kind of one I really like. There's a white dial that kind of almost like that one looks really, really good.
Yeah, totally.
There's also the Destro that kind of talks to me a little bit. It's basically just a reverse. The chrono pushers are on the other side, and I wear the thing on my left hand, so I was kind of considering that, but I'm like, I don't know if that would look weird or not. It's something that I would almost like to see in person, so I'm considering just going with the normal one because I know once I get it, it'd be like, oh, I like it either way. Because I've worn like chronos for it's not that bad. But I just thought I don't know. We'll see. That's kind of the teaser at the moment. If I end up doing something else, I'll keep you guys posted. But that's really the only thing I've like seen that's like really kind of pushed like the big like, and I've been looking at it a lot. I've almost honestly ordered it a couple of times already.
Yes.
I'm gonna wait because I'm thinking it's coming so close to September too. I'm thinking they may have a Black Friday sale or something like that. So I'm thinking I may just wait the
Nice.
month or something. I don't know, but
Oh
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
for what it's worth, I still really enjoy chronographs, and just at that time I was like, well, I saw it come out, I thought it was really cool, and as it is with these kind of smaller watch brands, it's easy for things to just like get released and then run out, and you're like, okay, when is the next ever batch going to come out? So it just kind of came as my interest in it was going, and I was like spending all this time like, do I want to try a mecha quartz? And so it just is what it is. The buttons will never feel as good as a mechanical chronograph. It's just the module, but it is nice that it runs the way that it does. I do, my mecha. So that watch, I bought it mostly so for some of the work that I would do if I needed to be in a place where I just would be washing my hands all the time, and I could justifiably like, well, it's my analog thing to count pulses and respiration rate because it's important in my work. Then I could softly justify it that way. But I have that also at home. It's just a nice, easy one that you can throw on. It's always going to be accurate when you put it on. And, when I'm doing errands around the house, and I can have some fun just timing how long it takes because, timing and all that stuff.
That was the watch that the med school had strongly encouraged Chris to buy after we noticed that he wasn't washing his hands enough. Chris, we noticed there's a lot of body cavities you've been having.
Yeah, exactly.
Without any appropriate hand hygiene there.
Yeah, and then there's like the
the
guy that had to go up and do like the UV ray like thing to be like, oh, look at him, don't be him.
You're the one who like would always wipe it all over your white
Don't be
coat,
like
and your
him.
white coat be all brown.
Right, exactly. Oh, man.
Well, we're gonna have to come up with 2 new designations under one umbrella designation of some sort, like we're gonna have to have medical grade and paramedic proof designations. So, is the watch or the car, whatever, paramedic proof? Is it
And also,
doctor
is
proof?
the watch wrist blowing? Does it blow?
Will it blow your fucking wrist off?
It blew my
Huh?
wrist.
If you put on this, will I have to call you?
Well, hey, once we assemble
not
the
paramedic
criteria, then we can just see like, hey, Metas, you should use this, add this on as well. Maybe we can convince Omega to see if they will certify it under our guidelines as well.
Well, I think if
Absolutely.
you listen quite closely, you might hear something that sounds a little bit like it might meet some appropriate requirements.
You're gonna
That come across? No, probably not.
louder.
But
You could
well, I can't make it louder, but I could bang it off of the computer and then it would ding. But this is the 116518 LN Paul Newman Golds on Oyster Flex Daytona, and that's a recent collection that all of us were luckily there to share and bask in the glow. So it was a really cool experience. I've never had a watch collection day like that with you guys, so it was a really cool experience. And then we got to share a beer in real life when Daniel was out there, and I think it's
Yeah,
such
that
a
was
cool
awesome.
watch. I
Mhm.
feel like it's giving me carpal tunnel syndrome. But it's kind of, yeah. So it's
The repetitive
got,
motions of just
Amazing.
like taking and do a wrist check, wrist check, wrist check.
yeah,
Yeah.
constantly rolling it. Well, honestly, I feel like it's made for a bigger wrist than mine with the Oyster Flex. So it's got the gold subdials on the matte black dial. I think it's like some specific name for how deep the black is supposed to be, but it is a matte, deeper black. And then you've got little touches of the chrono hand in red and the track and the outer track being red. So it's really super sporty. I'd actually had the privilege of seeing it in person. Well, I had seen it previously in like the coffin, and I was like, not sure. That was years ago before precious metal blew up. And then I saw it on the wrist of the Rolex CEO of Canada at a race event, and I was just like, my mind was blown. And I was like, that is such a cool watch. And I could see him in a formal sense and at a sporting event, and I could see someone like driving a car and doing like jumping in the water and being able to take this everywhere. So I thought it was super cool. So yeah, I was very fortunate enough to get the call on it. It's got the Oyster Flex rubber with the titanium kind of skeleton to it. So and then you've got the like baffles on the interior that allow for kind of lifting off of your wrist to have good positioning and to have like breathability. So I don't find that I'm getting too sweaty under it. And it's still that beautiful gold clasp that's so buttery smooth and buttery soft. So it does like to scratch, but it's a super cool watch and I really love it. But it is rolling around on my wrist, and my wrist and my left arm have actually been taking a bit of punishment. So I've been lately wearing it on my right wrist, and it's kind of cool. That's like the first watch that made me do that. And that seems to be like the most privileged kind of issue that one could have physically, when my arm is and my shoulder is kind of aching a little bit because of the gold and it's rolling around and it's so heavy. I can't even imagine having a platinum Daytona and having a Platona roll around and just having your arm just like fall off, feeling like you're having a seizure there.
You just need to think about this from like a bag carrying situation, right? If it's more difficult, to carry a heavy bag with just one hand, you carry two heavy bags, one in each hand, balance out the weight. You have two gold watches that both weigh as much as a car. You wear one on each wrist at the same time. Problem solved.
Well, Peter and I actually went to the racetrack together, and I had this on one wrist, and then for a time I had the Casio on Peter's wrist, and then sometimes I was double wristing, and my wrist was blowing off and double fisting and all those undertones. So yeah, it's a pretty cool watch. I've had it to the track a few times, and I feel like it's totally at home there. And it's also one that's like it's a kind of a subtle kind of bling, it's like for those who notice, it's not like wearing a full gold wristwatch where it's like, Jesus, when you see it you're like, that's cool, and that stands out, and clearly that guy's working hard. So it's a cool watch. I like it a lot. But
Do
I
you think we need to clarify something that you said earlier, though? You said that it's everything for all situations, like, oh, it's even a dress watch with its rubber strap. It's like, no, man,
when your
no,
wrist
it
is
isn't.
working.
There's no, if you put a rubber strap on a dress watch, you know what you just made it? A sports watch. It's not a dress watch anymore.
But you
You
can
can
wear
take
it to
that
a
concept and
semi-formal.
just like get out of here. You have a collection for a collection's sake.
I
If
wouldn't personally
you
wear it.
can either round out your collection or you can
Yeah,
try and make all of the same watches fit every scenario.
no, I agree.
So I
For a
think that it's
semi-formal.
it's like potentially my favorite watch in your collection, you know? And if it was my only watch, I'd want to wear it on all occasions.
Yeah.
But
That's the thing.
I think that at that point, that's the case, is that it's your watch and you wear it at all occasions. But to like select it from a collection, to put it on for a dress event of some sort, that would be a hilarious concept to me. And I'd be like,
Yeah.
what are you doing in your tuxedo, James Bond? Like you're gonna jump on a Sea-Doo after this?
Yeah, but
No way.
how cool would you look? I feel like, you know,
But how cool would you look?
in a pinch you could pull it off. But yeah, I agree. Like I'd much rather in a tux. I think that the Cartier Santos would make a lot more sense.
There
Which
you go. That's a dress watch.
which is a
Even
subtle
if
like
it's-
flex that didn't even make the list for today's reveals, but that also entered the collection. So stay tuned for the next episode in
That's
the
another
next series or
episode.
whatever. Yeah. So,
Absolutely. And
yeah.
then in the
I
next
mean, I feel like
episode,
we
Peter's
got to call out Daniel because we know that is technically originally a sports watch, so not quite the dress watch. So please get your history right.
yes. So it never was a dress watch to begin with.
That's right.
But it is a
Yeah, that's
Cartier.
right.
But it is a Cartier.
Yeah.
But you can pull it
that's
off.
right.
You can definitely pull it off. Let's jump
Every
into some
Cartier is
car
the dress
news.
watch.
Some car news, and we'll put Chris to sleep, unfortunately, but happy to get his thoughts on things. A lot of things that are potentially coming into the fold here. Not a Porsche Macan, that is a Porsche 911 GT3 RS, the 992. That is mind blowing. 518 horsepower, but the powertrain is not the big news. It's obviously the fact that it has DRS, so it has a crazy aerodynamics with active downforce that you can adjust, that will adjust automatically, that you have a bloody button that will adjust the double stacked wing, and with insane amounts of downforce and track presence, this thing is going to be a weapon. And it also has the double wishbone suspension. So kind of interesting that it's a big step on from a track dynamics perspective and a much more serious track focused weapon compared to my 991.2 GT3 RS. But I feel like this one would be super cool to have, especially in the Visac package, where you get the full carbon hood, roof, and you can get the magnesium wheels. I think it's pretty dope. I mean, I wish that it had a little bit extra horsepower. I wish that it ended up having a bump from 4 liters to 4.2 liters that was rumored before. But at the same time, I think they really delivered, and in spades, to the point where I feel like people are very divided. Some people say, you know, this is just too much for the road, whereas, you know, this is really giving us what we had asked for, something that's even more serious than an RS. This is almost an RSR, because this is barely like dialed back compared to a cup car. In fact, probably even more intense in some other regards. And what's also super cool is the fact that you have all of this adjustability with regards to your traction control, your stability management, and also all of the chassis dynamics. So I think it's super cool from my perspective. But what do you guys think? Is it worth a cop or a drop?
I would buy it
Yeah.
in a heartbeat. Yeah.
The
would
price
buy
has
in a
gone up a
heartbeat.
lot. This is
Well,
now moved on significantly.
the market's moved on significantly,
Definitely.
and that's just kind of like how the whole game's gone, especially at the top end of things when the performance segment has actually exploded. You know, all of this extra new tech has got to be paid for in some way, you know. And I think that in some ways, perhaps they understand that the RS market falls into potentially, you know, two categories of owners, one being the the investor, and the other one being the track centered enthusiast. So either way, people are going to be kind of getting what they want. It's clearly not designed primarily as a street car. That's what the entire other range of Porsches are for. And it's clearly designed even to dive more heavy into the track side of things. I think that does answer like a lot of enthusiast Porsche drivers wishes. You know, I think that the last generation GT3 RS is one of my favorite cars ever. And what do I want from it? On a new scale, you know, basically the things that they're offering. You know, you've got the 2RS, which is insane. And I don't think it has too much power by any standard. But I do think that with the 3RS package, they hit a really, really well-rounded, or they make a really well-rounded product. And it's got the right amount of power with the right kind of engine. You know, it's in the right place for a 911. They've taken the car that they had before, and then they worked on the things that they could work on to just improve the overall driving experience, focusing on the track driving experience. So that's just, I mean, I have to drive one, but that's my predictions and my understanding. So I mean, I'll take one in a heartbeat. But
Peter and Chris, what do you think?
Yeah.
Would you take one if you could?
Yeah, 100%. This thing's sick. I've been anticipating. I mean, it's been anticipated not just by me, but I feel like by all of us for a while. And it's just crazy. Like, I mean, the reveal was insane. Like you said, it's got so many features that are just technology wise, make it just a track weapon and make it like, it's basically like it's a race car for the road, and like, well, maybe not even for the road, but it's a race car you can drive on the road is maybe what I should say. Like, you can obviously like drive this on the road all the time, but like you kind of said, it's more an enthusiast car that is like, I think what people would want to take to the track kind of thing, right? And it's going to be that, like, when you're going out to the track, it's going to be a lot of people's probably first choice, just because it has all those things that you would basically, you kind of dream to have in your car nowadays. Like, it's really got it, and it's got that connection with like all these race cars. And like, I'm basically like, in the sense with the, I forget what you call it, DSG or whatever, but like the F1 technology kind of thing, it's pretty cool. It's pretty interesting to see in a
That's
modern
the DRS.
DRS. Sorry, yeah.
Chris, could you imagine yourself driving around the streets of Edmonton or pulling up to work in one of these things?
Well, I think it'd be, if I were in a position to buy one, sure. I think that'd be kind of fun. I mean, there's a little bit of a road to work, so can rip that way. But yeah, I can't appreciate all the things that's happening here, but it looks like it's pretty sweet.
It's pretty much a race car for the road. It's just gonna peel your eyeballs off. And when you put the hammer down, it's gonna like give you so much more traction. The 73 RS Tribute kind of package that comes through Porsche exclusive is one that they announced at Monterey at the Quail. So it had like the 72 RS touches. Sorry, it was 72 RS 2.7 Carrera RS kind of details. So it has this white with the green details. So the wheels are green, but you also get like a pinstripe of white around there. And you also get like some RS badges, and then you get some houndstooth inside. They even adjusted the DRS kind of stuff to have little touches of green as well. And then they have some houndstooth on the inside, as well as even green roll cage, which is kind of funny to me because they're saying that this is going to be America only, where you can't get a roll cage from the factory. I'm hoping that America only means North America only, because I would definitely want mine spec'd just like this. So I've begged for it. I've sent him my spec. We'll see what the dealer comes at me with, but I think it's super cool. And just, you get the same drag reduction system, but you get those little hints of detail. I'm not sure if it shows up in all of the photos here, but you see that they've actually introduced little bits of it around that engine deck lid here. I don't think it shows up in their photos, but it's pretty cool. Yeah, I think that's a definite cop for me. Yeah. So for the interim right now, though, I think that we've got to think about a lot of things that have come my way and perhaps drawn my attention a little bit, because I can't wait for that RS, especially when nothing is promised to me. Right now, what I've got is, as Daniel had mentioned, this 991.2 GT2 RS with a Visac package and paint to sample with Volcano Gray. and it is amazing. And I've pumped the mileage up from 7,200 up to 10,600, and I've taken it to the track, and I've made almost everyone who's ridden in it almost vomit. So, there's that, and I haven't gone off the track thus far. But there was that had actually drawn my attention away. And I think that a lot of people started to raise their eyebrow as to whether this was a wise move or not. From a collector perspective, and probably from a passionate perspective, something that had caught my ear was hearing Jerry Seinfeld mention that of all of the water cooled or liquid cooled cars, the one that is the best is the 911R, and it kind of reignited my passion for looking for one. And the market's really taken off on them again. And I had also spoken to someone at the track who had a GT2 RS as well as a crazy collection, but he was really kind and let me actually drive his R. And after that, that kind of sealed the deal as to why I might want to look for one. And there was one that actually showed up. This one was not 128 kilometers anymore, but it was black with red stripes, and it had a single mass lightweight flywheel, and it was coming up in Canada out in the West Coast. I tried my best to try to see if a deal was possible, but it didn't look like it was in the cards, especially after we saw that there was quite a bit of wear. I think that it probably was tracked before, and it had likely gone off the track. In fact, it looked like this right here. I did send it already for a pre-purchase inspection, but it did raise a lot of concerns. Like, this has a lot more wear than my car, which has been to the track, and I was going to have to take a bit of a hit with the money in. So the front end had some scrapes. The paint protection film had some scrapes. Even the side had some peppering that likely had gone off the track, and it looked like it had actually hit the paint there. And then some underbody scrapes. Overall, these are all cosmetic blemishes, but it wasn't really being reflected in the price. And I just proposed, why don't you just make it right and bring it up to good condition? And I feel like I'm still a driver, I'm not a collector. As long as either the price reflects it or you bring it up to good condition so that I can do that back to the game and then thrash it, that's fine by me. But unfortunately, we couldn't find a good solution, and so I walked on that. And I'm stuck with the GT2 RS, which is a great one. But it did actually bring up one other thing that I got to get your input about. I feel like is something more exciting to both of you and then a 911R, and that's the STO Lamborghini Huracan. And this is kind of one possible spec I kind of saw it as. It's, to me, I think really what I had envisioned the 458 Speciale or even the Pista being, or a lot of these cars that are like the last swan song for the top pinnacle kind of racing version of a naturally aspirated engine. And this will be the last V10 that they ever make, as far as I understand, without having some sort of augmentation from electric. So I might have a possibility to be able to get one of these. Obviously, it would require probably purging the GT2. Would you keep the GT2 or would you go for STO if you had the choice between the two? I really want to hear.
It'd be hard. I think at this, like, you're someone who like enjoys your like cars for, like, I would say, like, unless you really have something for a while, I feel like you're more like someone who enjoys them for a short time, not a long time usually. And I mean, you've had your GT2 for a fairly good amount of time now. I feel like maybe it hasn't been that. How long have you had it for?
A year.
Okay.
Which is on the upper limit, long. Other than my 430.
Yeah, it feels like it's a long time. I don't know. Either way, I think it's overly like cool. I've always been a big fan of Huracan's and Lamborghini. Like, I think the V10s have always kind of stuck out to me a little bit more. Like, I think the V12s are like cool, but I've always personally thought, like, sound wise, like, or like not even sound wise, but just like car wise, like, I feel like Ferrari maybe would be like your best option for a V12. I feel like they just sound a lot better. But anyways, back to the Huracan. I just think it's like overall, like, I think it's a really cool car. I think like it's a track.
Don't know. It cut out. I think I've lost them by trying to play with the configurator at the same time. I'm gonna drop out the Huracan. I've lost them, and that's my shitty internet. We'll see if we can stitch this back together again.
Would replace that.
Are you still there?
Yeah.
Okay. My internet dropped out there.
Yeah.
Still recorded it all.
Oh, that's good. No.
Too much going on in the dark web. Your bandwidth
It
is
was the
getting-
dark
is
web
reaching-
and the Lamborghini configurator.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that Peter, that's a good point. I mean, I think from a short perspective, it'd be kind of cool. But yeah, I mean, I'm not 100% in on that, but it's just a thought. Maybe it's time to take advantage of the last Swan song. Daniel, would you go for it?
It's tough. The you know, the values of these cars now is at the point where it takes serious consideration,
Yeah.
especially, you know, especially at this kind of price point. You know, if it was like a $10 million car, I'm not talking about that kind of thing, you know. But if this car would at least hold its value, if not necessary, like Lamborghinis, as far as I understand, don't seem to really appreciate. Some models seem to just hold their value, and then others models have historically dropped a little bit in value, and then some of them have come back up. So, you know, if markets seem to be positive for this model, sure. Sure, yeah, like I would go after this car. I find it highly desirable.
Yeah,
But,
I think
you know, the
Performante.
GT2 is also desirable. So if you can switch cars, have a new experience, and enjoy that new experience without worrying about a huge financial loss, then I would definitely pursue this car, you know. But that's kind of the conditions under which I would pursue it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that you're right. Like Lamborghini is a little bit different from Ferrari, and it's a little bit of an unknown market right now. I think probably the STO is overinflated because everyone wants it, and it's the hot new thing. Whereas the Performante is kind of old news. It's held its value reasonably, but it has come down, and it is very close in range to an STO. But then you don't get as much of a pure driving race version, and you don't get the last Swan song, right? The last ones that'll be out the door before the V10 is done will be the STO, the Technica, which is the more dialed back kind of touring version. And then I believe there will be also the rally version, or the, you know, the kind of like raised up off-road version, which I don't necessarily see myself going after, but it's an interesting idea. So I don't know. Am I really doing this to speculate, or am I trying to do this to try to get in before the ending of an era? And so I feel like this chapter is closing rapidly. They've already closed it for the V12 with the Ultime Aventador, and then there's going to be the V10 that closes, right? So I mean, it might be an interesting last ditch opportunity, but at the same time, you know, I think the other alternative is I could lean to try to see if I can keep the GT2, try to find another interesting GT car. But that's just me. That's just a thought. I'm still kicking it around, but I thought that the STO has been growing in the back of my mind, thinking, you know what, it is kind of the speciale of Lamborghini, and that boat has sailed. The speciale is like, the values are just too high for me, from my perspective. But that's just my thoughts. I mean, once you're getting into that price range, it is a bit of a gamble. It'd be nice if you could actually drive it, but from what I hear, it is like everything that all the journalists and reviewers wanted and have been calling for. So we'll see. Yeah. Chris, could you see yourself in a Lamborghini ever?
I think all of these high power cars are out of my usual kind of um, preferences. I guess my car just needs to do what it does, which is to get me from place to place. But I guess that's what people think about watches too. So we all have to pick our thing. So, but I guess I mean because I have no sense of the money, the value in the market and stuff. But I mean, you strike me as a person who like to have these experiences. So it's, I mean, it's kind of cool, and I see how you are convincing yourself that the Lamborghini could be something you want. And I wonder that if there's someone who is just like you, so whether you want to like kind of get it out of the gate and be the first one on it, or you acquire it somewhere else, I could see that that's an option that might present itself down the road, because there
Yeah.
must be other people in your who are convincing themselves similarly too.
What's interesting is that I never thought of it this way, but like when I started looking at the values of my GT2 for the trade for the 911R, I was like, shit, you know what? I'm actually coming in above Lamborghini for the value of that car. And then I get a brand new car that's a track weapon, that's the last of them. And I've never owned a Lamborghini, which is kind of interesting. And it's also like tried and true. Surprisingly, should be fairly reliable because that engine has been around forever and that transmission has been around forever. And they put it in the Audi R8 too. So it's just like, kind of interesting potential option. And I could potentially experience it and say, I love this and this could stay forever. And they'll never repeat it again. And maybe it's worth holding on to forever. But like you, I see a family potentially in the future, and my days of being able to swap these in and out and be so aggressive about moving into newer sports car experiences the days might get numbered, or they might get a little bit slowed down for sure. But we'll see. Can't slow me down yet.
That's right.
Well, boys, hopefully we ended up recording all this, but thanks again for joining us for another great Three Aficionados, with a fourth aficionado today. Appreciate your time, Chris, and we'll expect that you'll be wearing your dive suit next time.
That's
So
right. Or I'll borrow it
Right.
from my friend so I can stay. I have enough cred to stay on the program.
keep your wrist blower down and keep going, boys. Good to see you again. Have a
Right,
good
good night.
night. We'll see you.